Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back. I have a very special guest, longtime friend, coaching client, Mr. Ricky Carruth. And I've been really looking forward to having Ricky on this podcast because it's been an honor to be part of Ricky's, life and, sometimes in differing levels since he's really taken off in real estate, to see him go from a really amazing agent to really, I think, one of the most legitimate influencers in the real estate industry. And we've always connected over that. And I've certainly appreciated him for what he's representing in the industry. And Ricky, I certainly appreciate your time and being my special guest for today's World's Greatest Agent Interviews.
Oh man, I'm honored to be on a podcast called the World's Greatest Agents. So
exactly. I did the little head swirl just to really emphasize the greatest part. I know. Thank you for catching that. Well, so give them a little bit of background on like what you were doing prior to selling real estate, because I don't think a lot of people know about the fact that you worked on oil rigs and things like that, which frankly I thought was really interesting.
yeah, no, I grew up roofing houses with my dad. He owned a roofing company. And it was kind of a curse and a blessing because, he's really old school when it comes to, he's like rich dad, poor dad, like he's the poor dad. And but he taught me all these life lessons as well that applied to rich dad mentalities, which was really cool. But I grew up doing that and just like, you're 8 hours a day, 8 hours pay, like you work hard and you get paid for your time and stuff. But I knew there was something greater, something bigger. And I went to college. I went to 4 different colleges in 2 years. I failed a history class and I was like, I'm done with college. I'm going to do something else because I felt like I wasn't being productive. And I was learning the same stuff, really just a little bit higher level than I did in high school. I was like, what is this? I'm like, it's the same classes as high school. I'm gonna go try this real estate thing. So I took the class and dude, I thought that I could, pass this class and just get a stamp on my driver's license. I could just sell real estate for the rest of my life and get paid if I wanted to. I didn't realize like you got to find a broker and do continuing ed and pay fees and all this stuff. So I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. So I went back to the house, roofed a couple of houses with dad. I was like on the roof like 3 days. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try real estate. Like I don't want to roof forever. And so I went and took the test, passed the test, and I was like, Dad, I am gone, dude. I am never gonna roof ever again. I go in the office, I work 30 days full time, I sell absolutely zero. And I'm like, Dad, I'm coming back. So now I'm roofing in and doing real estate at the same time, trying to make it. And it took me 8 months to get to my first deal. So just long story short, that was in 2002, 2003, right when the market was really heating up. And when it heated up, that's when I started selling. I started selling 2 a month, and it was 3 a month, and it was 4 a month. And I made $1 million really quick. And I was like 23. So then I started flipping houses with the money and getting interest only loans, really like 100% interest only. Like it was wild. And I did well. Like I was flipping houses and making 100 G's on a house. And then the market crashed and I had all these homes. I was in the middle of flipping and all these interest payments, and it literally just vanished. And that's when I learned the life's greatest lessons about business. So I lost everything, right? I went from having houses and Cadillacs and Hummers to literally less than zero. I had to go bankrupt. I had debt I couldn't pay off, and I just bankrupted. I don't even know why I did that really, because you only get really one of those, and it was only like 30 grand left. But I wanted out of it, so I dipped. So I was sleeping in a car that one of my friends gave me. It was a beat up Ford Contour. Like this thing was insane. You couldn't open the passenger door. The the running lights didn't work. I had to ride the brakes whenever I passed cops, so lights kind of were at least on. I had a boombox in the back seat, the whole 9 yards. But I was sleeping in that car. And I was eating out of people's refrigerators, sleeping on people's couches. And I went back to roofing for about a year, and then I got a job on an oil rig. So the oil rig was during, after I'd already made it in real estate and lost it all. I did that for a year. That was every other week in Mississippi on land rig. Yeah, they were drilling for natural gas. And so that opportunity popped up, and it was like 5 G's a month. And at the time I was making like, I don't know, maybe 2,000 a month roofing, like 500 bucks a week or something. And I was like, oh, I'm doing this because I can work for a week on the rig, come home and do real estate for a week, go and do, oil rig for a week, do real estate for a week. And I was like, this is my ticket back into the real estate game because I'm going to have a week, 2 weeks a month, basically. I can focus on real estate. So I took the job and went out there. Most dangerous thing I've ever seen. The very first day, we're in the safety meeting. We have these safety meetings before we go out. We talk about where we are, the night crew's coming off. We talk about where we are in the hole, what the mission is for the day or whatever. And this is literally my first day. This guy comes running into the little trailer that we had that we're meeting in with this towel over his hand. And he comes running in there, and he didn't really like, wasn't like screaming or anything. He was like, hey, I need to go to the hospital, and he like pulled that thing back. And what had happened was he got his hand caught in this like, it was like it was a 10-inch pulley. So the pulley, the round part of the pulley was like 10 inches, steel cable running through it. He got his hand caught on that thing, and it pulled his hand through that deal. This is literally this is the first day on the job. I'll tell you this story too. You work a week on, week off. So the very last, and I almost worked the first week I did 6 at night till 6 in the morning. The very last day, everybody's excited. We're fixing to leave for the week. The crew's been there all week. This is my very first week. I'd been working this air hoist, which is this machine on the rig that has a lever and it has a steel cable that goes up to the top and comes down. And you pull this lever, and it winds up the cable so you can pull up they call them stands, but it's the pipe that gets drilled into the ground to go for the gas. Well, I was working that all night. They taught me how to do that through the week, and I was working that as the crew was like getting the pipes and putting it on there and tightening them up and stuff. Well, this guy was like, we need to watch out for that derrick finger. There's these huge 200-pound pieces of metal that's like, that you stand on when you're up there to like work the pipe. And he's like, you need to watch that. There's one of those loose. And the driller was like, whatever, drill, drill, drill. Well, literally, man, like every like 30 minutes, I was on this air hoist. And, then you take a break till it drills down. Then you go do it again to put another one. So in between one of those breaks, literally like an hour before I leave on my last week, this derrick finger falls from like 100 feet up, comes down and demolishes that air hoist machine. So this all happened in the first week. A guy got his hand caught in a pulley, before he even stepped out onto the rig. And then this 200-pound piece of metal, like it, dude, it would have killed me. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like it destroyed this air hoist machine I've been working on all night. That was my first week on the rig. But after that, there wasn't much, there wasn't much else. I mean, a dude died like a rig over, like 10 miles away, like 6 months in. Um, a what do you call it? Anyway, the machines kind of fell on him. Anyway, it was dangerous. I don't even know why I did that. Looking back, I'm like, for $5,000, I literally risked my life. It was like insane. But anyway, that's what I did. And but what I realized was that when I came home on the weeks off, it took me a week to recover from the work that I did on the rig. So I couldn't get any real estate stuff done because I was literally like just recovering. It was wild. Anyway, I got laid off from the oil rig in 2008. Obama came in, there was a lot of changes in the oil and gas industry, and they started laying people off, and I was the last. They kept me out of 50. There were 52 people on like 8 different rigs that were in my position, and I was the last guy they let go because I was the hardest working guy there as far as that position was concerned. Anyway, when I got laid off, I'd already been dabbling back into real estate. Boom, I just dove in, and then I started selling stuff. I made 80 grand in 2008, which was twice as much as I made on the rig the year before. And I was just like, thank you, Jesus. Like I've made it. And then the next year I made 100. The next year was the BP oil spill. And the BP oil spill is like a mini recession in our area. Agents were leaving the area, sellers were dumping their properties because I sell beachfront condos, and oil was literally washing up on our beaches.
We had
Nobody
coaching,
rented.
we had coaching clients down there then. I remember that very clearly. And you're right, they just left because they couldn't sell any of those condos, not just for like a week or two, but for like sometimes 2, 3 years. They
Well,
just
the thing is that no one rented. Like nobody was going to spend like all that money to come down here and stay on a beach that had oil washing up. So it was kind of a weird thing, but I went from 100 in 2009 to 150 in 2010, the year of the spill. And when it happened, everybody started freaking out. I was like, thank you. Like, let me put all these principles and methodology and theories that I've come up with that can put me in position to make it no matter what the market does. I can use this moment to test those theories and principles to see if it actually works. And it did. I made 50% more money that year. And that was the year that I was like, okay, I got this. That was a big breakthrough year for me that I made more money in a down year. So that was huge. So then I moved to Remax. So you'll like this story because this will come full circle. I went to Remax. It was September 2010. All right. I go in there, and this is the number one company in the area with the number one agents, period, by far. I walk in, and this is where I met my wife. And so I see her down the hallway. She was the broker's assistant, for the whole company. I see her down the hallway, and I'm like, man, look at there, right? I'm like, I wonder how long she's been working here. And little did I know, she was down there thinking the same thing. Wow, wonder how long he's been working here. And so after like months and months and months, we finally like talk and stuff, and we realized that we both started in the same month. Like within like a week or so, we both started. So we became friends, and we were just friends, and we became great friends. And then we started going out, we were partying, we were drinking. We were still friends at this time. We weren't like dating. We were just like friends having fun. Then we started dating, and we were drinking. We were having a great time, laughing. It was just amazing. We went on trips all over and concerts, and just, I can't even remember all the stuff we did. Even if I wasn't drinking, I wouldn't even remember all the stuff we did. But we were having so much fun. And after a couple of years of that, going out drinking and stuff like that, it turned from fun to fighting.
Hmm.
And we were just going out, and we were just getting in arguments, really bad arguments. And the arguments would get worse and worse and worse. And until the day that we were like, we're just going to break up. This isn't working anymore. So we break up, and I'm like, okay, kind of like devastated, but I'm single now. Like, let's go. Let me get out to the club and go crazy. So that lasted about a week. I mean, and I remember because it was Saturday to Saturday, right? We literally broke up on a Saturday, and I remember that whole week. And then that following Saturday, I had done so much drugs and alcohol that I was laying there and I was ODing, and I was literally dying, right? And I'm laying in my condo, and I'm looking up at the ceiling. And I remember I vividly remember that I was like hallucinating, and like I was seeing Jesus, like just like a hologram, like a picture. And I said, and keep in mind, my problem wasn't alcohol. And I was an addict, and I had tried to quit for years. Like I would quit and be like, I'm done with this. And an hour later, I'm doing it again. For years, I wanted to quit. And I was like, Jesus, if I wake up tomorrow, I will never touch anything ever again. Not a drop, not a sip, nothing. And miraculously, I woke up that next day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Like I get a second chance at life. And I looked over at all the stuff on the table. I threw it all I flushed it all down the toilet. I threw everything away. And I called my ex-girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and I was like, "Hey, I almost died last night, and let's get back together. Let's talk. Let's meet up and talk. Let's get back together. If you want to, if you don't, I get it." And so we did meet up. We did get back together. Uh, anniversary for not a drop, not a sip, not a puff, not a nothing. Um, and that was the first year that I sold 100 properties in 2014. So March 30th, I quit everything. I was already on a roll. Like I was already making 600K or whatever. Wow. Now it's coming really full circle because wow, dude, hold on a second. That's exactly when you were coaching me.
That was my question that I was going to ask you, is how our paths originally crossed.
Yeah, so there was a moment, and I don't know if this was before I quit drinking and stuff or if it was right after, but there was this moment, I think it was right after. Honestly, I think it was right after because there was this moment where I was like very like, why can I not make $1 million a year? And so I started doing all this research and I was studying like the number one guy, like I was researching people that were selling 700 million a year in real estate and reading their stories and doing all this. And anyway, like through the rabbit hole, I ended up stumbling across your coaching, like a link to set up a call or whatever. Ended up talking to your guy and basically took me through the regular stuff. I forget all the stuff he was drawing on, making me draw on a piece of paper and stuff. I was like, okay. And basically I was like, if Tim's not my coach, then there's no need in even doing this anymore. Like, I'm not even gonna do this. Like I'm making 600K. I'm trying to make a meal. I don't need like one of the, you know, little coaches. I need like the guy. But that's how that happened. That was right then. I didn't even like remember what the timeline was, all that. But anyway, that was that was the first year I did 100 deals, and then I did 100 deals every year after that as a single agent. So I never tried to do a team or yeah, I actually tried to do a team back in 2012. It didn't work out so good. But I was just more efficient as a single agent, right?
So you'll agree, Ricky, everything, all the best things in your life came as a direct result of our relationship and our coaching.
You were like the North Star, the shining.
Exactly. I, I actually listening to you, it's very similar to a lot of stories a lot of people experience, including the drug and alcohol such abuse. But I wrote something down and I'm going to fight, not, oh, you know what? I'm not going to fight. I'm just going to try to do a little coachy question. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So, and if you don't want to go down this path, you can we change the subject. So based on what you said, and I knew most of that, frankly, I didn't know you were in real estate and then got into the working on the oil rig and then back into real estate. I didn't realize that, which even
Mhm.
makes my question even more valid. Do you notice that your life this was the pattern it followed?
Yeah.
The success and then you destroyed it, success, then
Mhm.
you destroyed it. But Ricky, you've been, alive long enough. You've seen other people follow that same pattern. People seem to have this belief that they can't have, year after year, continuous levels of improvement in their business and personal lives. And
Mhm.
I get a lot of people that will join coaching that have been at the top of the mountain and then destroyed it. And men, this is how they destroy it, exactly like you did. They'll destroy their marriages. They'll get involved in alcohol, drug abuse. They'll basically destroy it from gambling, from financial issues. And then when they're looking back, they're saying, I want to build the success that I had before. Uh, help me do it. Fine. But then the question I always ask them is, how do I know you're just not going to destroy it after you and I work our asses off getting you back after 2 or 3 years? How do we know you're just not going to destroy it again? And then when you
Yeah.
go back through history, even sometimes all the way back to when they were kids, you're going to see that cycle. So why have you observed that cycle in yourself, and are you consciously aware of it and trying to put a stop to it?
I don't think I'm consciously aware of it because I don't see it as I destroyed it. So like the when I made the mill and lost it, the reason I lost it was two reasons. One is because I was flipping house, I was being done with the money, flipping houses. But my intention was, see, the golden rule all growing up for me in a household of poor dad was real estate, like buy real estate, buy real estate. That's like the golden rule, like
But
buy
isn't
real.
it, Ricky, isn't taking too much risk exactly what I was just
Well,
describing?
yeah, but it wasn't intentional. I know it's kind of hard to understand, but I didn't realize, right? I wasn't educated. I wasn't taught that there was a right way to buy real estate and a wrong way. In my mind at the time, it was just like any way you can buy real estate is a winner. Like there's no way to lose in real estate. That's what I was actually taught. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, this is risky. I wasn't taught that there was risks in buying real estate, right? I didn't know that until I experienced it. Um, so it's a little different than I was, there was any intentions behind, trying to sabotage. I was literally trying to get to 10 million, 20 million, 30 million net worth. Like that was my focus. And I didn't realize the risks that were involved. If I would, if back then, if there, and I said there was two things. The first thing was, flipping the houses and doing it the wrong way. I didn't realize there was a right way and a wrong way to do that. If I would have bought instead rental properties, oh God, I would have been fine. I would have been great, but I didn't do that. The second reason why I lost everything is because I didn't realize the principles of real estate, of being a real estate agent. There's principles of the industry that puts you in a position where you don't lose. It doesn't. It takes the entire volatility of the market out of the equation when it comes to your success. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize what those principles were until I went through that moment, lost it all, and I was like, oh, here are the principles that you need to live by. And if you live by these principles,
Let's cover that because you said something really important. I want to go back because the biggest charlatans in real estate are the ones that are trying to sell people into the idea that there's not risk with buying rental properties. And that's really important because those guys always come out of the weeds every time there's a market recovery, which is what we're experiencing now.
mm,
So buying rental properties let's say you're leveraging it, so you're taking a loan. It is a great way to build net worth. But the problem is when those rental properties, when the tenant's not making the payment because the
yeah,
property's good, and no one
yeah,
tells you that, right? And so if you have 5 or 10 properties and you're thinking, well, or you buy a multifamily, multifamily, Tim. Okay, fine. You buy a
mm,
multifamily, you buy a 20 family, and let's say 3 or 4 of them are vacant. And now you're barely making enough cash flow on that thing in the first place because you didn't have enough money to put it down to get it to the point where you were actually, had any cash
uh-huh,
flow. Whatever. Those 2 or 3 vacancies, you're wiped out. Now you have 4 vacancies. Now you're having to work to basically keep that asset.
mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you're not making so much money. It just gets worse, compounds. And that's what people do. They over leverage themselves. And so what Ricky just said is really important because, by the way, the best time to sell a performing asset is never. The best time to sell a performing asset is never. When you have rental properties, and this is what I think he was just saying, when you have a property that makes sense to flip, it probably makes a hell of a lot more sense to keep and to rent out. Figure out how to keep it rented
Mm-hmm.
out because if
Yeah.
nothing, if in the last 3 or 4 years, absolutely real estate has shown itself to be one of the greatest hedges for certainly inflation, but also one of the greatest multipliers to build net worth, and there's just no two ways about it. Did I hit all the high points?
Yeah, so just to touch on that a little further, when I did lose everything, I came back, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this real estate investing thing another chance. My strategy was if I was gonna flip, okay, for short-term gains, I was gonna pay cash. I didn't want to be in a position where if I don't sell this, or if I can't sell it, or if the market dips, then I'm in trouble because I owed money on it and now it's worth less than what I owe. That's what happened back then. So I said, and a lot of people are like, that's dumb. Use debt to do this. And I'm like, no, I think that's it. Here's the thing. Where's your risk tolerance? Like what can you stomach? And that's where I can stomach because if I'm paying cash flips. Now, when I do a flip, I've got 2 partners on the flips. We do like 1 or 2 a month. When we get one that fits my rental portfolio, I buy the other 2 guys out and I keep it because we flipped about 100 to 150 houses over the last 5 years. And my God, if we would have kept the best 30 of those properties, oh my gosh.
Let,
No,
let's level off there. I want listeners really to hear what you just said because it's really important. First of all, I want to ask a question. In your market, what's the average sale price of these houses that you're flipping? It's less than 500, it's probably 300, something like that or less.
yeah, the ones we flip are probably average 300. We've done some that were, 5 and 6, and we've done some in the twos
Right.
and even yeah,
But so
average.
so the amount of money you guys are making, the amount of money you're personally making when you're splitting it with 3 ways is probably less than 20 grand, if that.
Oh, it's definitely less than 20 grand. Like on average, we probably do 10 grand a piece. Like we might want
Okay.
to do one that we make 7. We might have one that we do 15. We probably average about 10K a piece. So it's about 30,000 profit, I would say on average. We split it 3 ways. It's ridiculous because you pay taxes on that money. right? You sell to somebody who's going to get all the future appreciation and cash flow, right? And I'm like, I want that appreciation and cash flow. It took me a while to kind of really get serious about that part of it because I was so focused on my real estate business and then my coaching business, and then in the past maybe 3 years, I've been really serious about the investing side of it. But yeah, you're right. I don't know if that's where you're going with it, but
Well, it's because the average agent listening right now, and you've seen this, I'm sure, with all the agents you've helped, is that they're thinking, well, I'm going to flip houses and I'm just going to be a big house flipper and whatever, whatever. If you look at the average, if you look at the risk that you have with doing a flip and you look at the margin is what you're actually going to make, as Ricky just said, after taxes, 99.9% of the time, if it's only good to flip, you're going to be better off if you just do another real estate deal, take another listing, have less risk. You'll
yeah,
make more money and you'll be able to, frankly, not have to be bogged down. Because I've seen this happen again with agents, is they will, I'm gonna buy a flip. Okay, this would be a coaching client, and they're gonna go buy a flip. I'm gonna keep lead generating. I'm gonna still sell real estate and everything. And what happens?
yeah,
All their time goes to the flip because, frankly, the flip is kind of
yeah.
fun. It's a creative outlet, and then they stop making money. So then when they do the flip and it cashes out, and they make their 20 or 30 grand, and you look back, they lost at least 20 or 30 grand that they could have otherwise been doing real estate deals.
Huh?
So just be careful before you believe that there's a one size fits all. The one size fits all that I'll share with you guys, and I think Ricky will concur, and this comes from Charlie Munger, is that there's America loves to celebrate the comeback story. It's endemic, maybe that's not the right word, but it is in the American psyche. Everyone likes to celebrate the guy that made it, lost it, made it, lost it, made it, lost it. Well, Warren Buffett, Charlie say that they like to celebrate and they like to invest in the companies where they made it and they never lost it. They just kept on building it. And it is possible to do that, but it is going to take being a little bit more, unfortunately, you're going to have to be willing to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it, for a very long period of time. And that especially is true with building wealth. I mean, where's your mind going when I?
Well, no, I was just thinking about the agents that try to flip while they're trying to be an agent. And I think the problem is that the whole point of being an agent for me or being anything, doing anything in life is to master it, and get to a point of mastery where you can literally do it subconsciously, right? With no conscious resources. You tie your shoes without thinking about it. You drive without thinking about it. And I think a lot of people know, right? They have knowledge, but they don't have the experience behind it to get to the point of mastery. And then they try to do these other things while they're in a pretty good stride to get to mastery, but they kind of get derailed by the opportunity of a flip or the opportunity that their friend said, or let's get a mortgage license or whatever, and they kind of get off, or even within the business, right? Like this lead gen, let's master circle prospecting or for sale by owners or expireds or Zillow leads or whatever it is. Let's master social media lead gen. Like let's master it, and they'll do it for a couple months and they'll get to a point where they have pretty good momentum, but then they're like, oh, here's a shiny penny over here. I'm gonna do some circle prospecting, as well. And it's like, no, master this until you've got it, and then try the house flipping or these other things. And I think that's where we kind of that's where we get into this spiral where there's a mirage around where we're being successful, we're open to other opportunities, we're taking advantage of everything, but we're not mastering anything, to actually. That's why, dude, when I getting to 100 deals a year and $1 million a year for me, literally, I ignored, like, I didn't even have a profile on Facebook until 2017. Like 17, like Facebook, like entered the world in like '06 or '05 or something. YouTube, I did not even go on and like scroll through a feed like at all. I was focused on three things: circle prospecting, postcards, and emails. I did a weekly email, I did postcards to my farming area, and I did circle prospecting. That is it. I didn't do Zillow leads, I didn't do social media, I didn't do for sale by owners, I didn't do anything else. I was just focused on, this is going to get me where I want to go. I'm going to let, and then, like, for years and years and years, like 10 years, that's all I did was those three things. I was just laser focused, and that's what it takes. And I think a lot of agents
You
saying
said it
yes.
perfectly, Ricky. I mean, it's doing what you don't want to do and you don't want to do it at the highest level. It's not about following your passion. And, you could search out all your big whys forever, but guess what? The big why answer always changes. You said something really genius. I'm going to really underline it because it's important. Everybody starts out. So Ricky was emphasizing the importance of mastery. And that really is, at the end of the day, what's very, very few people ever experience really in life ever. I mean, that's truly so the first level of this is basically the 4 levels of learning, or the 4 levels of mastery. And I had to write these down because I always get them mixed up, but I got it right. Unconscious incompetence. That's when basically you come to something and you don't know what you don't know, and you suffer through learning from bad experiences. And that's usually what most agents do. And that's the reason that most agents don't last 24 months. It's basically their unconscious incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. And unfortunately, at that point, they're most vulnerable, and they latch on to people that are selling them shiny objects, which Ricky did tell you. They look for the branding and the marketing and the buying of the buyer leads, and they never actually succeed because they don't realize they've essentially fallen into a rabbit hole that's going to result in their untimely demise, real estate roadkill. So that's unconscious incompetence. Now, sometimes what's going to happen is you don't have to start at unconscious incompetence and suffer failure to realize that you need help. You can actually go to the realizing you need help right away and avoid the suffering of the failure, because unfortunately the suffering of the failure often results in people, not just agents, losing their confidence and giving up and doubting themselves. And it becomes a deeply rooted belief structure about themselves that I'll never be successful. I'll never be happy. I'll never be thin. I'll never be rich. I'll never all these other things, because you followed false prophets that led to no profit. So the next phase is conscious incompetence. That's when you go, holy crap, I don't know shit, and I need to actually learn something. And this is where a lot of people also make mistakes, because then you don't qualify who you're listening to, and you're back to listening to people that don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I know Ricky passes all 4 of these filters, so I'm going to share these filters with you. In real estate, because that's our purview, when you're trying to choose somebody to listen to, when you're trying to choose a coach, you go by these 4 questions. Now I'm going to go through these quick. Number 1, has the person had a real estate license before? Ricky, you're going to laugh like I know, because it's so, Ricky and I've had that conversation so frequently. Some of these coaches and gurus, these dudes have never sold real estate before. Explain to me why that doesn't immediately disqualify them to be a real estate expert.
You know what they say about it, right?
Oh, sales is sales. I know, I've heard it before too.
Well, they sell themselves, but what about sports athletes, right? Some of those coaches never really played, and they just go down that road.
All right. So number 1, have they sold real estate before? Number 2, if they haven't, in our opinion, hit the next button. Number 2, I said R because Ricky's in alignment with this. Number 2, have they sold over 100 homes for at least 1 year? Okay, that's good. So if you found someone that sold over 100 homes for at least 1 year, that's really good. That's a really great place to start. But it could have been a condo, it could have been a subdivision, it could have been a one-off, it could have been 1 year, but still, that's an accomplishment. So the next filter, and all of you need to be very hypercritical of making sure you're choosing the best person. Otherwise, you're most likely going to, honestly, you're going to probably fail, and you deserve the best person you can hire. The third filter is, did they sell at least 100 homes per year for over 5 years in a row? Julie and I did, Ricky did. So there you go. And the fourth filter, and this takes virtually everybody out, is have they actually performed, given over 100,000 paid coaching calls where they're being paid to provide other people, coaching and training. Now, why is the paid part? Why did I emphasize that? It's because you will not be hired to perform over 100,000 coaching calls unless you're delivering value to the person who's listening to you. That's it. So market forces, which you and I were talking about right before I hit the record button, market forces are going to wash you out if you're essentially a charlatan. So every single one of you, when you're in that conscious incompetence phase, make sure you hire someone to help you, but also make sure who you're hiring is actually competent themselves. The next phase beyond that is where you become consciously competent. That's where you're basically, you know what you know, but you still have to think about it. Like, okay, I have a listing presentation today. This is my 7-step listing process. I know how to pre-qualify somebody, but I'm going to remind myself by having the questions in front of me. So you know the system works, you know you can do it, you've been successful, but you're still having to give yourself a little mental and emotional cues. Like, I'm like that when I go to swing kettlebells, right? You do that wrong, you're going to wrench your back. All those types of things, because I'm not at the highest level, which is Ricky, what he was talking about, which is unconscious competence. That's where in sales, in real estate, where whatever comes out of your yap, right? works. It makes sense. You know what to say. You know how to say it. You've said it before. Your brain is not actually using a lot of energy to think about what's going to happen next. You've had the exact same conversation with, let's just say, sellers so many damn times. You know what they're going to say 10 minutes before they say it. You know how the transaction is going to go. Some people say they're operating intuitively, and they are. So that's at the unconscious confidence phase. But to Ricky's point again, and really important, you guys didn't let this get by you because it was brilliant, is you got to fight to get there. You cannot just be born on planet Earth and all of a sudden say, damn it, I'm the best version of this. Nobody is like that. Everybody has to fight their way up. That's the reason ultimately it takes long periods of time of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level.
You know what? I think part of the problem is with people when they're doing the shiny penny thing or whatever, is that they don't really understand the true value of time.
Mm.
It's like what they're doing is they're saying, "Oh, I'm doing this circle prospecting thing or whatever the lead gen thing is, right?" And then the house flip opportunity comes along, and whatever time they spend on it, they're like, "Oh, that's just an hour there, or that's just an hour here, or that's just a half a day there. That's nothing." When really, in reality, those little hours and half days, it's like I tell people, I am just really not big, Tim, on like sitting down and like inputting data into a CRM, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I tell people, I'm like, if you spend 30 minutes a day doing something like that, something that I just feel like can be either automated or something, better, right? You're spending 30 minutes a day on something. Okay. I want you to think about this. That's 26 hours in a year of working hours. That could be the difference in you doubling your business this year. And you're just saying, oh, it's just 30 minutes a week. Now think about an hour. Now we're at 52 hours in a year. Oh my God, what you could do in 52 working man hours, right? Could be literally the difference in you doubling your business or not. And you don't even realize that it's like you don't even realize it because it just kind of goes by and you're just still where you are and nothing has really changed and you don't really know why. Well,
It's
I can
work
tell you
theater. It's work theater. The difference between real work and work theater. That's basically it. That's what you're describing. And sorry for interrupting you, but I want to remind you of something that I know you already know. There was an Inman article that came out, it may have been 10 years ago, and it was written by Teak Wiggins. And if you guys want to Google it, Google away. And he did this very in-depth research that showed basically, here's the summary, that long-term lead follow-up and CRM drip campaigns they yield such small results that they're not even worth doing. I'm going to say that again, because that is 100% flies in the face of what all these shiny penny people are trying to preach to you. It's all about long-term lead follow-up. It's all about dripping on them. It's all about all these complicated systems. I want you to put these thoughts together. The people that are trying to sell you into believing that's true are the same people that are trying to sell you into the systems. The systems, for the sake of long-term lead follow-up, I'm going to say it again, not based on the research that Teak did, but the research that came from Harvard, the research that came from like IBM did research on this like back in the 60s. Long-term lead follow-up is essentially yields such small results. It's literally something you can stop doing. And yet, how many of you are spending literally billions of dollars per year doing long-term lead follow-up and spending all your nights and weekends and doing all this fancy stuff with all your videos, hoping and praying it's going to result in real estate transactions? So what's the flip side to that? Do proactive lead generation, have the fewest number of leads. The game in real estate is not won with who has the most leads, right? It isn't. It's who has the most fully qualified leads, but you have to proactively lead generate. I mean, that's the essence of what you and I talked about when you first started coaching with me but I have to say, of all the people I've ever coached, you latched onto that. Like, I did not have to convince you. So I do remember when I first started coaching you, by the way, you've asked me that before. It's because you, a guy named Dan Grieve in Florida, and maybe two or three other people were the only ones I never had to talk into doing the work. You just did the freaking work right away. And now that I know that you were coming from working on the rigs and whatnot and had the hardship prior, I understand why, because you were moving away from having to do that, literally death-defying work. But I mean, that's where my mind went with what you just said. It's really important. Fight to get to that top phase of unconscious competence, and it's going to take a long time. Ricky, how long did it take for you to feel that level of competence and confidence with selling real estate?
Years.
Years. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly too. You said basically you just kept your head down. You didn't
Mhm.
get distracted. You just did the work every single day. It wasn't fun. It wasn't exciting. How did you, so like, was motivation ever a problem when you were in that building phase?
That's it, and that's kind of hard for me to relate to people who just, aren't motivated. They're not succeeding. They want to be higher. They're not motivated to do whatever. I don't relate. I know it takes people of all kinds, and I need to be more empathetic and all this stuff, but I just don't relate. But when
Why?
I
But let's stop there. Why do you think you have to be more empathetic? Can I be respectful to you
oh,
and
no. I don't think. I don't. I'm echoing what other people say. I don't think I do, right? And
you
I'm not,
don't?
right.
Ricky, you don't. I'm sorry, can I tell you a story? You'll love it. So I had two Navy SEALs on our podcast, Robin and I don't remember the other guy's name. We're gonna have him back on again. Both of them were SEAL. One of them was SEAL Team 6. Both of them were BUDS trainers. And I asked them, I'm gonna again, I'll have them back on. I'll ask them the same question. So one of them was more amiable. They were both obviously badasses, right? One of them was more amiable, but the other you could just like, even through a Zoom, tell that you would not want to piss this guy off.
Yeah.
He was the older guy. So I asked him, actually, the older guy was the nice guy now that I'm thinking about it. I asked him, so in your have a BUDS class and you've got all these, you can join Navy SEALs. You would have been a great SEAL, Bud, for sure. You would have. Absolutely. So you can join Navy, you can try to be a SEAL right out of high school. So these guys are having 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds that have never experienced anything like that before. They're basically, almost still kids. And I was asking them, when you see somebody you think has potential to be a Navy SEAL, but they're just not, they're floundering. They're just having motivation issues, or they're having all these other little mindset issues. I said, do you go there and try to coach them up? And they both basically said, hell no. We look for the weakness, and we intentionally, when we find the people that are weak, we try to wash them out as fast as possible. Because if they're weak now, they're going to be weak on the boat when they're with their team, and they might cause the other guys to die. And
Mhm.
now the older guy said, well, sometimes I might give them a slight nod of encouragement or whatever, but that is the policy in Navy SEALs. And I actually don't wonder, I think I know the answer. Maybe one of the biggest problems with, success in general is people aren't willing to tell the truth about the suck it takes to be a successful long term.
Yeah. Now, what I think about, when you say, "Oh, I had something really good," when you're in the middle of that. An agent was, like, this is off the subject, but it made me think of this story, and what you said, like, made me think of this, and I wanted to say it. Talking about like washing out the weak people. I There was an agent that, has this seller. She's a co-listing agent. The other agent really won't let this agent talk to the seller, so she's kind of like having to go through that agent. And she has this buyer, this agent has the buyer, and they want to know who the buyer is, and all this stuff. And she's scared to like tell them who the buyer is because they're scared they might go around her or something like that. I said, listen here. I said, if somebody's going to screw you, you want them to do it as quickly as possible. You want to give them everything you can give them, so they do it as quickly, because if they're going to screw you, they're going to screw you. And if we prolong it, they're just going to screw you later. So let's get it over with now and know who they are right this second. Let's go ahead and wash them out, and move on. If this is the kind of people they're going to be, I don't want to do business with them, And I thought that was that. I don't know why that made me think of that when you
Well,
said
but Ricky, when you're showing someone how to prospect to pick up the damn phone, and we can talk about all the phobias of picking up the phone until the cows come home, it's unlimited. Um, don't you secretly pray that they have the worst experiences right when they start prospecting, so they can see that if that's as bad as it gets, they're going to be able to make it?
yes. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. These agents that sell something in the first month or two, they end up failing. Most of them end up
They
failing
do, because
because they
it's
have this
easy.
false sense of what the business really is. They
100%
take their
bro.
foot off the pedal a little bit because they're like, "Oh, that was easy. I got a deal in a month. I can just kind of coast." And really, that's that. And honestly, when you do a deal really quickly, people can say whatever they want to. That's a fluke. Okay, no matter how you slice it up. If you knew somebody, if your mom bought something, if you ran into a prospect at the right time and just said the right thing, um, there's exceptions to every rule. There's a guy that did 100 deals in his first year that I know of, and he's like 1 in 10 million, I'm sure. But yes, I want people to experience some hardships in the beginning so they realize how hard this thing really is, so that they keep the pedal to the metal.
I think Julie and I mean, I do think there's somebody else that sold 100 homes in their first year aside from Julie and I, by the way. I've not talked to them, but I've heard about it. So I don't know if it was new construction or whatever, but yeah. And I'm going to share this too, because it probably is one of the things that bonds you and I.
Fixing my camera thing real quick. Keep talking. I'm listening.
I have no problem. So when Julie and I mean, Julie and I have been married for 33 years this year. We got married when we were 20 and 21, for those of you guys want to do the math. And we had a car cleaning and detailing business before. And having a car cleaning and detailing business in Columbus, Ohio, where half the year it's like nasty out, nobody wants to pay you to clean their car because it's obviously going to get dirty again right away. I mean, it didn't create a very stable income. And so, but what we did learn having the car cleaning and detailing business, and we paid for college by doing the car cleaning and detailing business. That's basically how we did it. And so when we got done with college, the car cleaning and detailing business started to really take off. And it was one of these, we started hiring people and the whole thing. But the hardship from having to build that business and the hardship from having to, essentially we go out, and we did this when we were in high school. We go out on the weekends, and Julie and I had this little flyer. It was called the executive service. And we would go to restaurants and we would flyer cars, but only the nice cars. So because we learned that if you've got a Mercedes, chances are you've got two other nice cars. And that is indeed what we did. And that's how we built our business. So we selectively target who we were going to market to. But what we didn't know is the car cleaning and detailing business was nothing other than our buds training for getting into real estate. So when we got into real estate our first year, because we bought our first house when we were 22 and 23. And when we got into real estate, we didn't know anything other than going out and hustling constantly. And it was funny how one hardship, if you basically allow it to parlay into the next experience, is really going to allow you to build. But, Ricky, I don't know how, even with all the time I've been in this space and all the coaching calls I've done, I truly don't know how to cause somebody to be long-term motivated where they truly live a life of ever-increasing levels of health, abundance, wealth, happiness. I don't know how to do that, because ultimately it has to be internally driven. But the conclusion I've come to is anybody that tells you that they do know how to have you do that and then it's not truly internally driven is lying to you. That's the conclusion I've come to.
Oh, 100%. There's no way. There's no way you can instill that in somebody. It's got to be in there already. You asked me about the motivation when I was coming up, I was focused on one singular thing. And this is why I was so focused on those three things: circle prospecting, postcards, and emails. And by the way, a lot of people think I'm this cold call guy. I'm not. I'm a principles guy. You can apply what I do to any lead. I think all lead generation activities work. It's about, picking one and sticking with it till you master it. But the
Well,
ones,
can I interrupt you?
yeah.
Okay. And listeners, if I'm bothering you because I'm interrupting Ricky, it's just because he and I are friends and this is how we talk. So just deal with it. I'm going to respectfully, with love, disagree with what you just said. Because if you start doing something that's dumb, that doesn't actually produce results, and you keep on investing in it over and over and over again after months and months of years, I don't know, you didn't mean this, Ricky. I'm just trying to clarify for people that are hanging on to every word you say. You're not going to make it work the more time and effort you spend on it, because it doesn't work in the first place. And the things that work in real estate, it's not just a big random a box of ideas. You pull out an idea and let's see if this one works. And if you're doing something that doesn't work, doing it more for longer periods of time doesn't make it work. Sometimes if you started out by listening to somebody who is a false prophet that results in no profits, what you're going to discover is a lot of agents, and I see this a lot with branding and marketing, I'm going to keep doing it. Okay, Mr. Guru Coach, I'm not getting any leads from my campaign. What am I supposed to do? You keep doing it. Do it. Spend money on it. Keep doing it. Well, it's now been 2 years. I'm completely out of money and I have to get a job back on the oil rig. What should I do? Keep doing it.
Right.
And then you find out they never sold real estate.
Well, yeah, I missaid that. What I should have said and what I actually meant was that figure out what works best for you, which means testing out all the stuff. Or, I never got the door knocking, right? I never knocked one single door. Why? Because as I was going through the different lead gen activities to try to figure out where my lane was, when I got to the circle prospecting, it worked so well that was it. I just went all in. Like, it was working so good. I was just getting leads, doing deals. I never had, if it would have faltered at all, or I felt like I needed to go to another step, maybe eventually. So I never tried everything. I didn't do door knocking, never knocked on a single door. I bought Zillow leads. When Zillow first came out, I bought Zillow leads. I bought it for a year. I had Truly and Zillow. I think I spent 20 grand that year or something on that. And then I shut it down. It was just a test. but my back to what I was saying, my singular focus, my big why, right, was to make $1 million in a year. Yeah, because like I came from middle class, lower middle class. My mom owned a hair salon, dad had a roofing company. They both worked in the business. We were living in a trailer in Birmingham for years. Just grew up poor, basically. Not, I don't want to say poor, like like even poor for me was like way better than, a lot of people that say they're poor. So I don't want to, say anything weird there because like I feel like I was incredibly fortunate. But nevertheless, we never had anything like six figure in the bank, okay? And or even five figure, we were lucky when we got into the five figures later on when I got into high school. I know mom and dad had, some five figures in the bank. But my point is that $1 million a year was like the big prize for me that I was just striving so hard to get, taking all that work ethic that was instilled in me through dad and mom and working on the rigs and roofing and all that and just putting it to work and just focusing on these things that I knew was gonna get me there and just keeping that's what kept me motivated. And then when I hit the million that year, dude, it was the scariest thing in the world because when January 1 hit that next year, it went from 1 million for the year back to zero. And I was like, oh my God, like, can I do this again? Can I hit this $1 million a year? Like, I have to climb this huge mountain, this $1 million mountain again. And that, bro, is when I started looking into social media and started thinking about, maybe my story of making it, losing it, coming back is worth something. Maybe I should write a book. Maybe I should start doing social. Maybe I should start helping other agents and kind of see where that goes. And that's kind of where all that spawned from is when that first year I made a mill, January 1 hit, and I was like, oh no, there's there's no way I want to climb this mountain every year. I'll climb it a few more years, but I don't want to have to climb this mountain every year.
So you said something a second ago about lead generation. You know that's every agent's favorite topic. So let's just talk about that. So you chose to do things in lead generation that were a good fit for your particular market. And we've had coaching clients that live out in areas where it has a high sale price and the houses are relatively close to each other. And in those particular markets, maybe door knocking makes sense. Like James Harris and those guys from Bravo TV, that's how they got
Yeah,
their start. And they legitimately did it too.
yeah, yeah.
So depending on your market, so listen to what Ricky said, because he did say something. Oh, I gotta turn my vacuum off. It's about to make a lot of noise. But depending on your market, you've got to decide what's going to be appropriate for your market, and then you've got to decide what's going to be appropriate for you. But the mistake most agents make is they choose the easy button. So the question I always like to ask is if you had to take 5 listings in the next 30 days, and let's just assume that you're not a brand new agent, so you know how to answer this question, what would you stop doing? And Ricky, I mean, that's a great question for you to ask agents too. I know you have your own version of that, but what would you stop doing? And the things that agents automatically know. So here it is. You take 5 listings in the next 30 days, and then you're going to win a cash prize of $1 million, all taxes paid. So we're going to make some really big thing. Or maybe we can even push it out to 60 days. Okay. It doesn't really matter. The moral of the story is if you had to do it, if that was your number one driver, everything in life depended on,
Uh,
what would you stop doing? And agents always answer the shit that they know they shouldn't be doing in the first place. It's all the passive stuff, right? And then they'll say, I had this recently on a big Zoom I did for a brokerage. And then then you say, well, if I had a list right now of, and I'd done this research ahead of time, it wasn't perfect, but it was close, of 400 sellers that had their hands in the air right now that said they wanted to sell their home. 400 sellers. How much would you pay me for these leads? And then, people always take the bait, which is always fun for me. And they always throw out numbers. And we sometimes can have, especially at a live event, and it'll be like a little funny auction. And I'll say, well, guess what? These leads were free. Did not have to pay any damn referral fees for them. They're in your MLS. These are all the expireds that happened in the last, depending on the market, 30 days, 60 days, today, right? Every single time, it's always fascinating to me how every single agent knows what they're doing for lead generation. Most of what they're doing is essentially gambling and a waste of time. And they know exactly what they should be doing, but they don't do it.
mhm.
And why do you think that's true? Why do you think agents are afraid?
This is exactly what my talk was. I just left Portland. I did the EXP rally in Atlanta, went straight to Portland and did an 800 agent. It was me, Sirhan, Pineda. And this is exactly what my talk was about. It was about that most people think learning is just to learn and just to know stuff, right? And I was like, everybody in this room knows how to get listings, right? You can literally Google how to get like the knowledge that you need to get listings. Everybody has it. Like, you know how to get listings. The problem is you're not doing it. Why is that? Well, the reason being, this is why, okay? They haven't come to a place in their life where they're fed up with their circumstance of life enough to do whatever it takes. So they'll say out of their mouth, they'll say, I want this, I want to, sell, 5 properties a month or 10 properties a month or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Well, here's what you need to do. And it just like, you could literally tell them in a sentence what to do and how to do that. And they're like, I don't really want it. I don't really want to do
That's
that.
not me. I don't like to
Right.
use
Yeah.
scripts. That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
style.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's like, wait a minute, and the problem, here's the problem. They're okay where they are. They're at that stage in between where they say they want more, but they're not to the stage where they're willing to do more and be more. So they're not to the place where they're just like, oh, I'm happy, I'm good where I'm at. Yeah, at least they're saying out of their mouth they want more, but they haven't reached the level where they're actually ready to do or be more. And that's the problem. And the reason is because they haven't come to a place. And this was I told my story about the drugs and alcohol on stage. And my point of that, to bring it full circle back to the audience, is that transformation that you need in your life to actually make a difference and get to the next level happens in an instant, right? That what takes so long is making the decision to make the decision, right? And so, like, all those years I tried to quit, right? I wanted to quit, but I didn't come to a point where I was fed up with my circumstances in life enough to actually make the decision to transform. And it's the same thing with these agents. They're making 5, 10,000 a month. All their bills are paid, right? They're getting by. They're going out to social events, and they got a nice house, and they're living all right. And so they're just not fed up with the fact that they don't not worth 10 million, they're not worth 20 million, whatever it is, enough to say, you know what, I'm tired of just living paycheck to paycheck. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I've made the decision. I'm transforming into this next best version of myself. I'm going to go do whatever it is I need to do, which I already know what it is. I'm just not doing it yet.
It
Like, I
doesn't
knew how to quit. I knew how to quit, just quit. But
right,
I didn't do it because I hadn't came to that point yet.
it doesn't take hardship of waking up after you thought you were going to die the night before to actually get to
Sure.
that point where you have the epiphany. You don't have to experience hardship like that to actually turn the corner. And I love what you just said. Sometimes you can do it. Honestly, the main reason people stay stuck in a rut is that they don't know they're in a rut, and it's lack of exposure. As soon as you get outside of your own market, as soon as you start talking with it, thank you for doing those 2 events, by the way. As soon as you start getting out of your own market, as soon as you start, running into other people, rubbing elbows with people that are just like you, they're not any younger, better, anything. They're just like you, but they're doing so much more with their lives. That right there, if you're receptive to it, can be pivotal in your life. You don't have to wait until you're having some sort of, I had a Bob McLaughlin, he's in Virginia. I coached him, I think it was for 2 or 3 years. And the coaching calls, he wasn't taken to it. Why did he continue to pay for coaching? Because he was taking to it just enough that it made sense for him. Then I remember I had a coaching call with him, and then another. And it was like a month or 2. And he was a freaking rock star. Some switch had flipped into him, and I asked him, he said, it's because I turned 40. That was his thing. Now I'll tell you another story. There was a guy named Monet Castroneves. I think I got his last name right. This was what I'm doing. The story has happened before I started coaching, but it's such a great story. So this guy evidently was massively overweight, all kinds of health problems as a result that comes as a result of him being massively overweight. He describes himself as having to use a walker. He was so overweight. And the doctor was telling him, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. And one of the unfortunate horriblenesses that happen to people that develop diabetes is you sometimes can develop gangrene and your appendages. In his case, it was his feet. So the doctor it warned him for years, you're going to have to take care of this problem. It's going to cause blood circulation problems. You're going to have parts of your limbs that are going to start to die. For me, that sounds pretty awful, but he didn't listen. He procrastinated. So then he goes to the doctor for his normal checkup. And the doctor says, well, looking at your feet, we need to schedule you for the first procedure to remove part of your feet. And at that very moment, he said, hell to the no. And then this is where I came in. I mean, after he lost all the weight, he became in such good shape. He was on the cover. I think it was Men's Fitness. I mean, Ricky,
Wow.
he it was, you know what I'm saying? Totally ripped up. He
Mm,
lost so much weight and he was in such great shape and got his life back together because it took him to experience that hardship. But
mm.
don't think, because the problem, Ricky, is if we let them believe that they have to experience hardship, a lot of them are going to manifest hardship and use that as their excuse to actually start, turning the corner. And you don't. It hopefully,
Well, and that's
maybe.
the whole point of what I'm saying is that what this is the point of what I'm saying is that that transformational moment where you make the decision to make the change and execute on what you know you need to execute on happens instantly. People, what the point I'm trying to make is transformation doesn't happen over a period of time, right? The decision to get there, to make the decision, that's what takes so long, is getting to the point where you're fed up. What I'm saying to you guys is that the actual transformational moment happens instantaneously. And that moment can happen right now as you're listening to this, right?
Hopefully.
You can make the decision right now to say, you know what, I'm done living like this and I'm ready to move up. I'm ready to level up. I'm ready to live like this. You can make that decision right now and live a different life from this day forward and start executing on a whole different level, right? It's just a matter of making that decision.
So, um, you talked about money, and I know some people will be recoiled talking about money and just think that Ricky's greedy and all he's focusing on is making the $1 million and having a net worth that's tens of millions of dollars,
Mhm.
because they haven't really come to terms with their understanding of what money truly represents or could represent in their lives. Can you help them with that?
Well, you listen, the value you provide to the world, your net worth is worth a lot less than the value you provided to the world. Okay. The world off of your value wins way bigger than you do. Okay. It's like when a coaching client pays me 10 grand and I help them make 100 grand. Okay. And they get, guess what? They get to take those skills with them every year. They don't have to pay me 10,000 the next year, but they get to make the 100,000 again the next year and again the next year and again the next year. Right. So you tell me, who won bigger? Did I win bigger or did they win bigger? Did I win? Yeah, I won. But who won bigger? They won bigger. Now the ripple effects of that go all through their family, through generations. Now they're probably maybe going to help other people based on what they learn. And the ripple effects of this is not just the 100,000 I help them make extra in their life for the next 20 years, 2 million bucks. That's not the ripple effect. The ripple effect is what they do with the 2 million bucks and the knowledge that they continue to spread and the generational wealth and so on and so forth. And it all came from this $10,000 turned into Lord knows how much money over the course of time, so the world won way bigger than me in that situation, right? And that's what people need to understand. And so let's bring it back to the current situation with commissions. The agents that are worried about these commissions coming down because of the lawsuits and NAR and all this stuff, they're basically sending the wrong message to the public, to the world. They're basically saying, hey, we don't think, right, as agents that we provide the value that we're getting paid. We think that we get paid too much. You're paying us more than the value that we're providing to buyers and sellers. That's what I see the agents that are worried. That's the message that they're subconsciously, they don't mean to send it. They're just, like we've been programmed to be worried about stuff. They're sending the message that we get paid more than we're worth, when that's not the case. You get paid less than what you're worth. The value that we provide to a buyer or seller is worth way more than the money that we get paid. People aren't going to pay for exactly the value that they're paying for, right? So, like, for example, if I have $10 and I trade you for $10, we're not going to do that deal. You give me $10, I give you $10. We both still got $10. But I'll trade you $10 for $20. I'll trade you $10 for $30. People aren't going to pay for the exact value that they're getting out of the money, right? They're going to pay for more than what the money's worth. That's what people.
Overwhelming value, basically. Well, so what I heard you say is the lifestyle you're enjoying, the health you have, the relationships you have, frankly, the wealth you experience. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all spiritual beings in a physical incarnation. And so you need stuff. So the stuff you have, the stuff that you're going to use to, enjoy your life, might as well be the nicest stuff that you can buy. But the stuff that you surround yourself with, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the car you have, the school your kids go to, the neighborhood you live in, the experiences you have, it's all a direct reflection. This is what Ricky just said, of the value you've provided to other people. So if you don't like your predicament right now, it's simply for the fact that you have not moved past your maybe unconscious abhorrence to wealth or rich people or evil and all the rest of it. Okay. I had that personally when I was growing up, wonderful gift from my parents, but move past that. The moral of the story is that what you experience on planet Earth is a direct reflection of what you've helped other people experience. A successful agent or a successful actor or a successful coach or a successful whatever, they're experiencing what they're experiencing for the reasons that Mr. Carruth just said, because they have they realize there's a direct reflection on the experiences that they have on planet Earth and how they've basically been allowed, not even permitted, but how they provided service to enough other people to achieve their, missions. And the definition of rich, and this is also something that'll help a lot of people cut through their, emotional mooring lines to abhorrence of money, is rich is simply where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. That's it. And so if you're living in his market, maybe you earn $10,000 a month passively from rental properties, from maybe EXP revenue share, whatever it is. Brother, you're rich by that definition. You don't have to have millions, let alone tens of millions of dollars. If you've got money coming in, so you don't have to worry about money anymore, you've won the lottery. Congratulations.
Yeah,
It's not that difficult. And I know. Yeah. And it's not that difficult. So if you think, well, Ricky's thinking so big because, he wants to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. I never will get to that. That's too crazy of a thought. Don't think like that. Think, how much are all your personal bills? You can't probably even grasp how it would feel to have that amount of money coming in every month. You can't even wrap your minds around it because your life has always been about the grind. You came from a family that's always been about the grind. Everyone you know has always been about the grind. And the idea of one day waking up and not have to work for your money anymore because your money is working for you, that in itself will prevent you, because it makes you uncomfortable, will prevent you from ever doing it. Hopefully that's helping somebody.
We should get out of this is that instead of focusing on your net worth, what your net worth is going to be, how much money you're going to make, right? It's all going to be a direct reflection of the value that you've provided to the world, right? And the business that you've built around that value. And so if you can focus on that, the money's going to come. The money's a byproduct of the value that you've provided people in the world. So if you can focus on what your skill is, what your uniqueness is, right? The value you can bring to the market, then the rich part is gonna work itself out. I'll tell you why. And people, think money is bad, and greedy people, and this. You know what the problem is? I believe with those kind of people, they don't read
or listen to podcasts or watch good videos like this one.
and if that was like a shot like that, if that hurt somebody's feelings, because you may be one of the ones saying, oh, these guys are just about money, and then I said that and you're like, oh crap, he's talking about me because I don't read. Hopefully that created a transformational moment for you to where you're like, okay, let me pick up a book tomorrow, right? Because the more you read, okay, that's the only way to transform, because what you know is not going to get you where you want to be. You got to learn new things so that you do different things so you can have different things. If you're not constantly learning new things, you're never going to get anywhere further in life, and you're not even going to understand how to bring value to the world, right? Because you live in this two-dimensional world where you already know everything.
Well,
Like,
but be
how can I
careful.
bring value to the world? I already know everything. There's no value I can bring people. It's because you aren't learning things that you actually bring value to the world with.
Right. But just be careful. And I'm sure you'll agree, be careful who you're listening to, because you could be listening to a charlatan. You could be listening to somebody that's actually just an info marketer, which is what most of them are. You could be listening to someone who's going to share you into some sort of complicated 14-step funnel followed by a long drip email campaign. You're thinking, I'm going to do that. And the person, maybe all your peer group, your real estate peer group says, oh, that guy's the guy you listen to. Go to his seminar, the rest of it. And then you get into it and you're saying to yourself, this is what breaks my heart personally. You experience this with coaching clients too. They'll come to you after having followed a false path. And then they have self-doubt. They've stopped believing in themselves. So you don't have to have those bad experiences in order to learn, in order to evolve. That's one of the things that hopefully everyone's taking away from this. You don't have to experience this in your life, in your physical well-being, in your financial, spiritual, family, educational. You don't have to go like this constantly. You can actually have a steady increase in the quality of your life if you just, and Ricky said it perfectly, and focus on a very small, and that's 100%, I agree with that. Don't try to make yourself too wide. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. And, as frankly, I know Ricky would agree too, as a listing agent, focus on the best version of yourself as being a listing agent. That's where the money is. That's where the leverage is. That's where you can actually have time freedom. And then we strongly will encourage you to make, just be very, very, very careful of all the distractions and all the shiny objects. Ricky said this too. There's proactive lead generation. That's frankly what makes you now money. And then there's passive lead generation. That's what maybe makes you money one day. Focus all your best energies every day, which for most of it's no more than 2 or 3 hours a day. Focus all your best energies on the proactive lead generation. And if you choose to, do the passive lead generation, but you don't have to choose to. What do you think?
To take it a step further, okay, on focusing on being a
Please.
listing agent, right? Just focus on being a listing agent. You should really figure out who your people are and what your niche needs to be, because a lot of agents make this mistake. I want to sell everything, right? I want to sell single family. I want to sell Gulfront condos. I want to sell commercial. I want to sell lots. I want to do builders. I'm going to do new construction. I'm going to do all this stuff. And they don't really carve a niche out. They never really draw a line in the sand. You know what happens? The buyer says, I want to buy a single family home. I'm going to go to the single family home expert.
That's right.
Or I want to buy a beachfront condo. So I'm going to go to the beachfront condo expert. I want a commercial. I'm going to go to the expert over here. And you've been basically not drawing a line in the sand, and you haven't carved yourself out as an expert or a master at this type of real estate or that type of real estate or whatever. And you end up losing that battle because other people are experts in this, that, and the other. And you think if you do that, then you're going to lose all these other deals. No, you're not. Right. I was a Gulfront condo guy. That's what I marketed myself at. That's what I did. I sold so many condos across the street. I sold so many commercial buildings. I probably sold, I don't know, 10 different commercial buildings, even though I had nothing to do with that business. Because why? Because condo owners owned commercial stuff. Right. And I sold so many single family homes. Why? Because the condo owners wanted to move from a condo to a single family. Right. Or somebody referred me, or I had a family member or whatever. So what I'm saying is definitely carve out your niche so that you're that agent, that guy or girl for that type of property. But then take whatever else comes. If you're single family, if you're new construction and something else comes your way, a commercial deal, and you it's not over your head, one of those commercial deals that's just like too complicated, take it. Take everything you can. That's like listings, right? You want to be a listing agent, okay? And I always say this, when you focus 100% of your actions on listings, okay, 20% of your business is going to be buyers.
By accident.
Yeah, because it's sellers who bought, it's people that want to buy your listings, and it's referrals. So you're still going to do 20% of even though you focus 100% on listings, 20% of your business is still going to be buyers. Well, you carved yourself out as a listing agent, but you didn't turn down these buyers either, right? So that just goes to show you right there. And a lot of people are like, oh, listings, or then I'm not going to get buyers. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the best way to get buyers. And by the way, they are the best buyers. Okay. Sellers who buy are the easiest to deal with. People that want to buy your listings are great, both sides. And referrals are the best. Why would I want random first-time buyer, Zillow, and weird? Why would I choose that path?
Well,
Anyway.
lack of exposure to things like this podcast, lack of exposure to people, you went down the wrong path. I mean, it's like a plane landing. If you're 1 degree or one tiny little measurement off and you're trying to find the runway, you're going to end up in a different state. And so if you're starting in real estate, choose the right path. And I gave you the 4 filters on how to go about choosing the right person to listen to.
I was going to ask you about that. Are those yours? Did you come up with those?
The only thing that was not original Tim and Julie was the levels of mastery. Everything else I came up with. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. You're welcome.
600 deals a year. 5 years in a row, 10 or 100,000 paid coaching calls. That's good.
Well, because Ricky, the truth is if you run somebody through those filters, how many people in the industry actually that are real estate
You
coaches?
could count them. You could count them on. You could count them on
Bro,
your
one
hands.
hand, right? One hand, exactly. So I'm not dumb, right? I mean, I'm going to give,
And,
but
there's people that check some of these boxes. Like there's people that have had 100,000 paid coaching calls, but none of the other three or four.
no, I know. Well, you can use it, and listeners, help me hold Ricky accountable for this. You can use it, but you have to credit Tim and Julie Harris when you say it. Yeah, there you go. Well, listen, I just had a warning that we're gonna run out of time here. I should have made this for longer than 90 minutes. Ricky, listen, thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a coaching client all those years ago. And thank you for, I don't really know how to quite verbalize this, but of all the people I've ever personally coached, you're one of the ones I'm most proud of because of the fact that you took the message, you took the energy I was transferring to you as your coach, and you've blown it up. You did it to create wealth for your family, but now you're creating wealth and prosperity and a path forward for potentially millions and millions of people. So I really sincerely appreciate that. It means a lot to me because it makes me feel more in alignment with my highest and truest purpose, which is being of service to others, but in this specific realm, real estate agents. And I know you feel the same way. So thank you for that.
Back to you. I just feel like you're just passing the torch along, and I'm just continuing on what you've been doing long before I came along. So, you really kind of blaze the trail, for guys like me to follow. So without guys like you, there wouldn't be guys like me.
And we have to make sure we're doing it for the next generation of guys and gals as well.
That's it. That's it.
So listeners, hopefully you love that as much as I did. I love Ricky. I love talking with him. Yeah, listen to this. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those that people listen, they share, and please do it. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're share this with as many other agents as you possibly can. We didn't get too in the weeds about anything that was too obtuse. We didn't talk about the commission sharing lawsuits and all this other stuff. We wanted to focus on stuff that wasn't mindset, but it was actually practical, tactical, and hopefully would get you into action. So now please do get into action, use this information for your own betterment. And remember Ricky's analogy of the pebble in the pond, the ripples that come from you engaging with becoming the best version of yourself. You're truly doing God's work, and we really appreciate you being part of all of our lives. And Ricky, God bless you and God bless your family, and come visit Julie and I again.
Absolutely.
Right. Have a fantastic day.
You, man.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.